A lot of trauma growing up. When I was dealing with the beginning of this case, I was afraid. I didn't know who I could trust. My mother said, hey, I know somebody who's hiring. I can connect you. I was, since very little, adamant I would not work anywhere that had any type of ties or she knew anybody. And I never wanted her to say, oh, I got you that job, because I witnessed her do that with my siblings. I witnessed her do that with my grandmother. I was like, okay, I'll try it. If it becomes too much of a conflict of interest or it bites me in the butt, I'll leave.
Do y'all know somebody like that after they get you a job, whatever, then later on down the line, after y'all got into it, whatever, they want to say, well, I got you that job, or whatever the case is?
I started working at Iconic Creative Agency. They're an agency that has contracts with the Nike brand and the Jordan brand. I was offered an entry-level job. I was told I was going to be like the marketing manager, and it was going well. I thought everything was going well. But then I started noticing little things like, oh, why can't you stay late, like after hours? Or, oh, why don't you travel here, travel there? And they didn't require me to travel in the beginning. But I started noticing that it was weird. Like they were trying to, oh, stay after hours to work this project and come meet this person. And so I was like, I'm being paranoid. So I didn't really, think anything of it. And out of nowhere, Iconic wants to have a meeting with me. And they're like, oh, you've been working here for some time. You've been doing well. We want to give you a promotion. If we're going to promote you and we're going to pay you, I went from 65,000 to 125 grand. You have to do more work. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to be making this much money, it makes sense to have more responsibilities. And they're like, well, we need you to travel. We need you to, there's not going to be set hours. You need to stay later. We need you to, manage more projects. I took the offer. I'm like, why not? Then that's when it started to become sketchy with Iconic, in the sense that I normally would get out of work 5, 6 o'clock. And then it's like, oh, well, why don't you stay? So-and-so is staying. This is why you're getting paid more. So then it was like, people were staying in the office till 10 o'clock and they wanted me to stay at 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, and then it became like gaslighting, like they would text me. And so I started to feel guilty, like, man, am I like being a lazy worker? Am I not performing? Like that started messing with my head. Like I don't deserve this salary, because I started to think that something was wrong with my work ethic. Like I was questioning, like, am I doing a good job? Like, and it became like they were calling me at all times of the night, like 1 a.m. She's telling me like her personal business, like she's having a fight with her husband or having this. Like it became there was no boundaries. At first I thought that's how I had to accept that treatment. Unfortunately, I thought that okay, if they're paying me well, like this is normal to be in a toxic work environment, to work late hours, for them to call me and have no boundaries. And I was getting suspicious, because it became, oh, why don't you come to this event? So-and-so basketball player is going to be there. Or why don't you work this Nike event? This guy is going to be there. And I was like, well, why?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie, after hearing this, like, I'm catching the weird Diddy vibes. Like, do y'all job do that, like, after hours, they want to call, like, they call you, like, 1, 2 o'clock? In midnight, talking about personal problems. No. Come over here and meet this, like you said, being a groupie or whatever. What she said what the name was? Iconic Creative Agency. We finna take a look at that and see how they get now. We finna check their website. This their website right here. And scroll down, see what they got going on. Size does matter. Pause. Lisa already head of production. We just finna see what's going on. Of course, we ain't gonna go through all of them, but we just finna see. Producer with a heart of gold and a mouth of filth. Whoa. With 15 years of experience under her belt, she mastered the art of making us laugh until our sides hurt, burning our hearts with cute dog photos and pushing the boundaries of what's appropriate, all at the same time. But we wouldn't have it in another way, because Elisa keep us on our toes and remind us to never take life too serious. So keep scrolling down. Whoa, dog. Office Dojo buttons. Let's click on that. So I guess when you call whatever, the dog will answer woof woof or some shit. Buttons Office Dojo. And I ain't saying the word right. Always working on a rough edit. You're an editor. You can't spell office without dog. Well, actually, you can, because office only has one of those letters. But if it did have the letters dog in it, it would be like dog is or dogfish, which isn't a word. It doesn't really make any sense. What are we even talking about right now? No idea, to be honest. Did he write this? Like, need for goofy. So I'm assuming the person, the head of director, what's her name, Lisa or something? I'm assuming she did all this. Cause you remember earlier she mentioned something about dog. Just by listening to Lisa, it seems like she corny as hell, but down to earth. And tell what y'all think. Finna get back to the story.
Why does that matter? Number one, I'm not a groupie. I don't care how much money you make, who you are. Like, I have a partner and I love him and I'm with him. And then it became, oh, why don't you come work at our house?
Wow, man.
I'm like, yeah. I didn't feel comfortable working at anybody's house, because even though they were a married couple, he's still a grown man, and she's a very jealous woman. So I'm like, I don't want to go to your house. Oh, well, so and so is here, and he's been here since 11 o'clock working with us at our house. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't feel comfortable working in someone's home. That's when I became suspicious. I started to realize, okay, something is weird. Something is weird here. But I continued to work because I was like, am I being paranoid? Like, am I crazy? Like, and then I started to think, is my mom paying them? Because why are they asking so much of me? And it was weird.
It's crazy that she mentioned that her mama was paying them, right? I ain't gonna lie, for what I'm about to say, y'all might disagree, some might agree with this, my opinion, but she put in that perspective is like she trying to get the boyfriend out of the way, because it seemed like he like holding back from a career, because she just said she would like to get down, maybe they doing swingers, whatever the case is, and she won't be loyal to her nigga, whatever. So it seemed like to me that's the whole purpose, the mom behind this. It don't make sense. Like, she trying to get her boyfriend out of the way so she can do these weird, crazy shit for a higher position, will promote, you know what I mean, whatever the case was. But I could be wrong. What y'all think? Putting down the comment section below.
It's weird, and I was like, no, Demore, you're being paranoid. I had a lot of respect, and I thought I had a very good, positive relationship with one of the owners. I have texts like her saying, you're like a daughter to me. Thank you. You're family. You're this, you're that. And so I was severely betrayed and severely played by them. And it hurt a lot. It was another thing that hurt, because it was in this case, my case, going through this, that I started to realize how many people could be bought and sell their souls very easily. And so that in itself was hard. We're traveling, we're at an event. There's a Nike Academy call scheduled for tomorrow. They asked us to nominate somebody to run the call. We need you to do it. And I was like, that's weird. Like, I'm not going to question my boss, and I'm not going to not go if she's telling me I need to be present in a meeting, right? So I'm like, okay. I show up to the office. Nobody was there. So I called her and I go, hey, nobody's here. She's like, no, we're all working in activation. The call's on Zoom. Take it and just let us know how it goes. So I was like, okay, I didn't think anything of it. I hop on the Zoom, and there's only one person on the Zoom, a woman. And
there's so many red flags popping up. It started looking like an NFL Super Bowl game.
She identifies herself as Rachel Thomas from Nike Academy, and she tells me she's the director of the academy. And I ask her, hey, since because I already had, like, my intuition is always on point. That's what I learned with this.
Yeah, them folk were capping. We don't see no Rachel Thomas under the Nike Academy. Look at that. But carry on.
said, hey, do you mind me recording you since my staff is not here so that I can replay the meeting so that, you know, I don't have to take notes? And she gave me consent to record, which was phenomenal, right, for my case. So I'm recording, we're on the Zoom, and I go to her, you know, she's like, you know, tell me about your background. It became, remember, I went to school for social work. I've worked in intakes, assessments, safety plans for people. So she started doing what we call an intake assessment to get background. She's asking me about my childhood, how I grew up. And so I go, you know, Rachel, I'm sorry, is Nike hiring are you like in charge? Like, you know how corporate offices have psychologists that do like workshops for like work-life balance that they, you know, the employees attend. Is this what Nike is doing? And she's like, yeah, it's something like that. We're just trying to, you know, teach people how to cope with high stress environments and work. And Nike's trying to like do a test run on these sessions. I already knew. I was like, wait a minute. And she kept asking me, like, it became like one question, for example, how do you say no to people who might not want to hear no? I'm like, what?
Like Cat Williams said, you gotta tell them no.
Because P. Diddy be wanting the body. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say I'm so free.
I'm like, so then I would go back. Oh, you mean at Iconic? So I would play her. Oh, you mean at Iconic? Oh, yeah, at Iconic. No, we're all amazing people. We have a great team. Like, I was just lying about how amazing Iconic is. I really scared her when I said, oh, yeah, I know where you're going with that because I was a social worker. And she's like, you were a social worker? And I go, yeah, I was a social worker. I work with abuse victims, survivors of torture. And she's like, huh, like you'll hear the audio. And I'm like, yeah. And then she was like, oh, okay, well, like she kind of like wrapped, but it was like already a 40-minute session at this point. And so I told her, this is how I was smart. I was like, do you have a website I could share with the rest of the staff? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to be busy the next 2 days, so I'll send it to you when I can. And I'm like, okay. 2 days later, she sends me a link. They created a website. They put NikeAcademy.com, her photo, Rachel Thomas, her fake background with Nike, and I screenshotted it, sent it. At that time, I was still, I wasn't with the grief counselor for grief counseling. I was just really seeing her for work-life balance and things like that once a month. And so I said, hey, can you do me a favor? Since you have access to like therapists and doctors, can you look this person up? And she's like, well, this person, is she a doctor? And I go, this is going to sound crazy, but I think I was just tricked into doing a psychiatric evaluation with somebody who's posing as a Nike director, but who's really a doctor. And she's like, what? Like, Demoria, are you getting a little bit paranoid? And I'm like, I have a feeling she's looking her up under Rachel Thomas. She can't find her. Why? Because she gave me a fake name. And at that time, I didn't think, you know, Thomas might be fake. I'm just looking for Rachel Thomas. And I think when Iconic saw that I was getting suspicious, they stopped and they said, oh, the Academy calls ended. The last one was on December like 20th or something like that. I go to Christmas break. I had a Nike event that I had to do for a week. And then December 29th, I come home from Publix, the supermarket, and a detective shows up at our house, Detective Williams from the domestic violence unit. And she pulls up. Yeah, she pulls up and she goes, we got a call that you're being held against your will and tortured.
More money, more problems, huh?
More expensive right now.
Wait, no. What is going on? Excuse me, do you have a warrant for his arrest?
We found out that the reason why Javon's hearing that was scheduled for February 5th for the December arrest, which was the first arrest, was rescheduled to the 23rd because my mother, Desiree Perez, and an attorney by the name of Brett Schwartz So he filed a notice to appear in the hearing in December. I didn't know at that time. It wasn't until after the hearing on February 23rd, we found out through evidence that basically the prosecutor, Lindsay Davis from the state of Florida, emails my mom, this is all on the record, and says, we do not have probable cause or enough evidence to charge Javon Hadley with anything. And so, you know, Brett Schwartz, this man who files and pretends to be my attorney and tells the lawyers that he's representing me when he's not. I've never met this man in my life, but he's really my mom's attorney. Him and my mom forget that they blind copied the state attorney's office. So now we have their communications, and basically requesting for this prosecutor, Lindsay Davis, hey, can you extend his hearing to a later date so we can keep him on edge? And that's why Javon's hearing got scheduled to February 23rd. They already knew charges weren't going to be pressed. February 23rd, they did no action. They didn't press charges. Case was dismissed. But then on the email, they're telling the state attorney, yeah, postpone it to keep him on edge. And we're also going to work with the human trafficking team because we're going to try to get him charged for felony human trafficking.
It should be like, what the hell it mean? Human trafficking? What the hell?
For who?
For Javon.
No, but I mean the charges for Javon. But who was he moving around?
Yeah, nobody. We own a landscaping business, and before that, he was working as a paralegal. We have no ties to human trafficking, no ties to anything. We're normal people. I work a 9 to 5. We have the business together. Like, we don't.
It's like a bad guy scenario of let's throw every holy damnation at this person and see what sticks.
Yeah. So now they're CCing the human trafficking. The head of the human trafficking, which his name is Nicholas Chavez, I believe. I'll give you that record. They're ceasing all these people requesting meetings with the human trafficking division to try to see if they can charge him on human trafficking. The case gets dismissed on the 23rd, February 23rd. And behind the scenes, we're not, you know, we get these emails later on, but behind the scenes, they're going back and forth with the state attorney. They're meeting with the human trafficking division. Brett Schwartz is lying and saying he was my attorney. And then at that point in the emails, we discover that Brett Schwartz tells my mother, maybe if we hire a brainwashing expert or a doctor, we can have her.
Well, y'all, that's the end of the video. Shout out to Jaguar White, and shout out Demore Hagley, you know what I mean, for coming on the platform and telling her side of the story, whatever. But summarize the story up, it seemed like I said earlier, what it seemed like to me, like they determined to get this man out of the way, throwing a human trafficking charge allegedly, all this type stuff. And that's my opinion, that I feel like they want to get him out of the way so she, or the corporation that she dealt with, could really have her way with her. That's my opinion. Tell me what y'all think. Comment section below. If you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, and see y'all in the next one, man. This shit crazy.